Hola Mis Amores, my name is Nori and I am the self-trust catalyst for women executives, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs that are embodying the most authentic, abundant version of themselves by navigating their feelings with ease. Today, I wanted to talk to you about what it takes to build a six-figure business. I recently shared with you that my business hit six figures this year, and it was a huge milestone. But I wanted to take a step back and share some of the reflections that I've experienced or I've noticed or I've pondered upon as I hit this milestone so that it can give you insight into what it really takes to follow your dreams, what it really takes to embody your authentic and abundant self, and what it can look like to manifest the life that you desire, even when it feels uncomfortable. So, if you're familiar with my story, I started this business in the Self-Trust Society back in 2018. At the time, it wasn't even called the Self-Trust Society. So it used to be called the Get Unstuck program. And one of the things about building a business, one of the things about allowing yourself to embody the most authentic version of yourself is giving yourself room and space to evolve and to grow and to experience different iterations of yourself through your journey. And when I started, I had no idea that I was going to end here. That's the first thing I want to be clear about. When I started this business, I really wanted to figure out what I cared about. I wanted to figure out Nori, what I'm really passionate underneath all these things that I do is self-mastery. And I really desired to master myself, to master how I showed up in spaces, to master how I navigated my emotions because they were having a huge impact on me, and to master what I attracted to my environment, into my life. So as a byproduct of that, I went in this journey to have this business, to help people navigate their emotions, help people feel fulfilled, help people live a life that they desire. And when I began this process, there was a lot of emotions involved with me. Number one, I had just quit a job that I felt at the time was quote unquote my dream job. And when I decided to walk away from this position, it was because I wasn't happy. It was because I had gotten to this point where I had checked all these boxes and I didn't know who I was outside of those boxes. And not only did I not know who I was in denial about it. And I felt guilty because here I was living the dream life that people saw as a dream life, and I wasn't happy. So I felt bad for not being happy to be living this life that was supposed to be the top of the mountain, right? I didn't count with getting to the top of the mountain and not enjoying the view. So when I decided to walk away from that job, I experienced a lot of discomfort, to be honest with you, because I felt like I was quitting. I felt like I was being irresponsible. I felt like I had worked so hard to get here and I was just giving it all up. And it really pushed me to work through those feelings. It pushed me to face myself in a way that I hadn't done so before. And one of the lessons that I've learned from now having a six-figure business, or getting to a place where I've grown and nurtured a six-figure business doing what I love, working with women that I respect, that are powerful, that are amazing at what they do, is that you have to be willing to really walk away from things so that you can receive what's in alignment with your intuition. At the time, I knew so little about what my intuition wanted me to do, but I did know that it was time to walk away. And I could feel this visceral calling to step away from this role and to go into the unknown and trust that things were going to work out for me, even when I didn't feel like they were going to work out for me. So I went on this journey to have this business. And when I started the business, I didn't even believe that my business could be successful. At the time, I was so focused on experiencing myself and getting to know myself in this new role that I hadn't even thought about what it meant to be an entrepreneur. I hadn't even thought about what it meant to get clients. I hadn't even thought about what it meant to have an offer that people would pay for. I literally was truly focused on, I have to take care of my needs, and I'm taking the space to do it. And hopefully in that journey, I'll be able to make some money. I knew that worst case scenario, I could get a job and I could make at least $80,000 at a job, because that's where I was when I left the last role that I had. But I knew that I didn't want to do that. I did not desire to go back and work for anybody else. I love having my time. I love having access to making things when I wanted to make them, and to be creative, and to, for the first time, ask myself, what do I really desire to do? In my adult life, I hadn't really had that opportunity. So to be able to walk away from a job and then give myself permission to ask myself, what do I desire? It was new for me. So as I continue my journey into entrepreneurship, it really was a journey into self-discovery. To me, in my experience, my business has been a catalyst to my self-discovery. It has been a catalyst to my self-mastery. The work that I do with my clients has been a mirror to me about what areas am I working on, what areas am I challenged by, what areas am I celebrating because I'm growing through. And that's not the way I saw a lot of people doing business. And during this process, I did hire coaches that have helped me and supported me, because there was a part of me that I just didn't know how to be an entrepreneur, y'all. Like, I didn't know how to think about all these systems and how to build all this infrastructure to be successful. I had no idea how to do that. And when I began to look at my work seriously, I realized that I needed help. And there is something about going into business for yourself that can be really challenging. And it is this idea that you don't know nothing, because you're stepping into a known territory, and suddenly a part of you rejects everything that you've done up to this point. A part of you feels like you're not equipped to do this, or may feel like that. At least that's how I felt. And a part of you is looking for the right person to help you fix it, the right person to give you answers. And in this process into building a six-figure business, I've had to learn that I do have all the answers. I have the answers that make the most sense for me. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm not going to be challenged, and this doesn't mean that I'm not going to need support to execute on my vision, right? Because that's different. But it does mean that ultimately I decide which direction my business goes. I decide what kind of clients I work with. I decide what kind of offerings I give them, and I decide how do I align that with my intuitive guidance. And for the first few years in my business, I really was focused on doing what the coaches were telling me to do. I wanted to be that person that did the thing, that was a studious pupil, and that was checking the boxes. That's how I had learned to be earlier in my life. So I really wanted to be a good student, and I wanted to deliver on those things. And then reality hit. Number one, I didn't care for what those people were teaching me. It didn't align with my intuition. They were telling me to do things that perhaps I wasn't ready to step into. They were sharing strategies with me that I still was wrestling with internally, because to have a business and to step into business for yourself means to face your internal challenges. It means to face your thoughts. It means to face your borrowed beliefs that may be impacting your capacity to take action. It means to face pain. It means to face your fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being worthy. That's really what business is all about. So while here I was spending thousands and thousands of dollars on coaches And some of them were talking about the importance of mindset. I wasn't still getting the ROI on that because I was still challenged by Nori. And one thing I've learned about having a business and building a six-figure business is that people don't have business problems. People have personal, emotional challenges that manifest in their business. And I was the embodiment of all of that because here I was with this goal to hit six figures, and year after year, I would see the numbers not be anywhere near that. I think my first year in business, which was 2018, I made $2,500. And I was surprised that I even made that money, to be quite frank with you, because I had such little faith in my ability to have a flourishing business. I hadn't developed that. I didn't trust myself enough to have the business I envisioned because I wasn't even envisioning a business. And even though I was writing things down and I was going through the exercises and I was, doing the vision board and all these other things, I was more so going through the motions and less believing what I was putting on those visions. And I actually have deconstructed a lot of those visions now because they were not really rooted in my intuitive guidance. So one of the challenging things about being in business was accepting that it takes as long as it takes. And this is something that I tell my clients all the time now, like, hey, things take as long as they take. Your responsibility is to focus on what you can control. And that was a challenge for me because I was not focused on what I could control. I was really focused on all the things that would give me an opportunity to distract me, to avoid responsibility for the things I could control. And I had convinced myself that I can control certain things that I really couldn't. Because I could only control myself. I can only control the thoughts I entertain, the feelings that I give my attention to, the words I say, how it's delivered, but how it's received is outside of my control. What people do is outside of my control. And this was really tough for me when I was doing sales because since I hadn't addressed a lot of the emotional turmoil that I was experiencing, I would get on these sales calls and people would say no and it would devastate me. Or I will get in these sales calls and be thinking, this person needs to pay this bill for me. And I will be so desperate, so thirsty that the person will notice it because we feel other people's energy and they will not trust me to work with them. They will say no, and then the cycle will start all over again. So one of the things that I had to do was face the fear of rejection and really get to the heart of where that fear was coming from. That brought up so much stuff for me, y'all. Like so many things from childhood, so many things from earlier relationships I had, so many things with current relationships I had. I just began to notice how afraid I was to be told no and how much that impacted me, how much of my validation relied on external circumstances. And when I began to notice that pattern, I had to realize that it needed to change. And it was difficult to change this because I was so used to being the person that did the rejecting. And now I was going out there and putting myself in a position to experience rejection, and not from a space of punishment, but just from a space of reality. I wasn't the right person for everybody, and they weren't the right person for me, and nothing was wrong with that. But I was challenged by that tremendously, and it had a huge impact on my ability to do sales. It had a huge impact on my ability to show up as my most authentic self, and I started performing. I began performing to see if people would hire me. I started auditioning for them because there was a part of me that felt like I had to be this way in order for people to generally want to work with me and to see my value and to see my worth, because I wasn't seeing my own value and I wasn't seeing my own worth. So I'm grateful for that as I reflect on it, because it really taught me that That's how I had learned to show up. And he gave me an opportunity to shift that. He gave me an opportunity to change how I was acting and to become available to the authentic side of me and to embody this version of Nori that is so amazing and powerful and is effortless at it. And I wouldn't have discovered her if it wasn't because of that experience. So a lot of times we think that to grow a six-figure business is all about strategy. Strategy, 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 and more strategy. And there is strategy that is needed. But there's also you facing yourself. It's also you learning to trust your intuitive guidance. It's also you learning to release. It's also you learning to surrender. It's also you learning to trust other people with themselves. It's also you letting go of the fear of failure. It's also you letting go of the fear of rejection. It's also you knowing that what you do is so powerful that it has no choice but to be successful. And there was a part of me that was rejecting my power because I had learned that to own my power meant to be humble. I learned that to be humble meant to play small, to downplay how good I was at what I did. So for the first year and a half of me coaching, I didn't realize how big these transformations were because I was downplaying myself. And one thing I want you to take away from this video, especially if you're a business owner, is do not downplay your power. You are extremely powerful. People come into your space and their lives are transformed. You have to know that and believe that because that's what becomes a catalyst for your capacity to take action. And it wasn't until I started really listening to the testimonials I was getting from my clients because they were giving me testimonials. And I started listening to the testimonials and I was like, oh my goodness, I am changing their lives. I am being a part of their transformation at an integral level. But I hadn't allowed myself to see that. So when I began seeing that is when I realized I'm not only changing their lives, they're changing my life too. And this is amazing. And what has taken for me to get to this place of saying I have a six-figure business, which sounds really cool when I say it out loud, but even that sometimes feels weird because I just didn't realize that I could do it. And now it's done. And I've done it in a way that aligns with me. I felt for a long time that I had to do what the coaches were saying and do it in the way they were saying it. And it has to be very specific to what they were prescribing to me. But I have a business. I've manifested a business doing what I love on my own terms without feeling a deficit while caring for myself, while literally growing a baby right now. And I am so joyful and grateful for it. And I didn't think this was a possibility for me. And that's one thing that I want you to really sit with as you are having your own business and as you are stepping into your life, your dream life, as you are looking to attract the things you desire, is that it is possible to have it in the way you envision it, in the way you desire it. Do not allow other people's projections of scarcity permeate your space and take away your capacity to envision what your intuition is guiding you to do. And the number one thing I have to do to really manifest this business that I desire is to trust my intuition, is to trust myself, is to trust that I know what's best for me. I may not have the how. That's what other people come in for. But I have the knowing and the certainty that wherever I choose to take my business is where it needs to go. And it is that knowing and that certainty that has guided me to this point. Because when I have hired people from that knowing and that certainty, they have changed my life. The first coach that I hired, that it was me, like it wasn't my husband, because he was also part of this entrepreneurship journey. And you can learn more about that in my Why I Quit My 9 to 5 video. This was when I hired this coach, I didn't really have the money. in my bank account to hire this coach. But my intuition was like, this person can help you. You need this person. So I borrowed money from a family friend to pay for this coach. And he did help me. He supported me so much in learning to honor my voice as a business owner because I was really challenged by that. And I had learned that business didn't need to be fun. I had learned that I didn't have to like it. I had learned that it was all about the client. And I had learned that I didn't know anything. So when I started working with this coach, he turned all of that upside down and he began to show me the possibilities. And I'm so grateful for him. His name is Ellie because he really taught me that I did know. And he really pushed me to dig those answers from within and to honor my voice and to do it with kindness and compassion. And that was the beginning of this six-figure business in this iteration at this level. I feel like I've learned everything. I've learned something from everyone I work with, but what I learned from Ellie was that my intuitive guidance was valid and that there was a way to make it work in the way I desired. And it wasn't all or nothing. And that was 2019, and I'm recording this in 2021. So it took time for me to see that, but also to embody it so that I can manifest it later on. And it's been an amazing journey. As I'm even sitting here, sharing these reflections with you about what that has looked like for me, it has really pushed me to unearth parts of myself that I didn't know existed. It has really pushed me to address a lot of emotional challenges that I had buried deep within me and wanted to ignore. It has really forced me to accept myself and honor my truth in a way that I didn't think it was possible. And there are many ways to have a six-figure business. This is not the only way. This is the way it has happened for me. This is the way it has unfolded for me. And this is the way that I have learned to work through with my clients to help them manifest the things they desire. And that is to honor your inner voice, to trust your inner voice, and to take action on what your inner voice is guiding you to do. And for me, that has looked like facing a lot of my feelings. It has meant, number one, making time to feel my feelings. Number two, getting very clear on what I desire. And what I mean by that is truly what I desire, not what I think I desire, but really what I truly desire. So it has meant being uncomfortably honest with myself and seeing where my surrender and my responsibility so that I don't play the role of a victim anymore. It has meant creating and following routines that support my intuition. I haven't always done that. But since I began doing that, my life truly has shifted and I began to experience way more ease. And it has meant letting go of what I cannot control. There's this obsessive nature to want to control others, to want to control how others show up, to want to control timing of other people's journey and transformation. And being a coach has taught me that I don't control any of that. My job is to help you with strategies to support you, removing anything that gets in the way of your ability, of your capacity to listen to your intuitive nature and take action. That's my job. And I will do everything to do that. But you have to take the action. You have to deal with the emotion. You have to let go of the attachments. You have to surrender to divine timing. You have to give yourself space and permission to be your authentic self and to know that not everybody's going to make it on this part of your journey. And that's what having this business has done for me. It has helped Nori become a highest version of herself. And it has helped me do it with ease. The one thing that separates me from other coaches is that when you come and work with me and you strengthen your self-trust, we are going to do it with ease. There are many ways to trust yourself, I imagine, because it's the universe. It's so multidimensional. There are many ways to have a six-figure business. There are many ways to manifest the life you desire. There are many ways to experience the life you desire. But what I value the most is doing it with ease, with joy, with enthusiasm. It's living the life you love without an attitude, without feeling like you're giving yourself up in return, but instead knowing that you've created this life, you co-created this life, and embracing it. And before I began this journey into entrepreneurship, I couldn't have fathomed that that was possible. And now, 3 years later, not only do I know it's possible, I am an embodiment of that possibility. And it feels amazing to be able to share this with you because, quite frankly, I hadn't really sat and thought about what it took to get to six figures. And I'm grateful that I am, because a lot of times we're just going through the motion and we're not allowing ourselves to see how much we've grown through this journey, and we don't celebrate it. And that's something that I know is very powerful. You have to celebrate yourself, because only you know how much work, how much release, how much surrender, how much learning and stretching and challenging it took to get here. And you get to experience the joy, the peace, the ease that comes out of this experience. So today I wanted to share this with you. I want to encourage you, but I also want you to see what's possible. Maybe you don't want to do what I do. Maybe you want to do something completely different. It's possible. Perhaps what you desire to do has never been done before, and you're scared because you haven't had an example. It's possible. Perhaps you're the first person in your family to do it, and they are not as supportive. They don't get it. It's possible. Perhaps you're the first person to be willing to look at yourself internally and do the healing required to break the generational curses and to begin to embody a new level of peace in your bloodline. Is possible. And even when it doesn't feel like life is happening for you, it is. And having a business is way bigger than the business. It's a vehicle into you learning to see yourself, to trust yourself, to love yourself unconditionally, to accept yourself without needing people to validate you, and to embody a level of authenticity you know lives inside you. And that's what my business has done for me. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm grateful for every single person that has been a part of it. I'm grateful for the clients that have fired me. I'm grateful for the clients that I've fired. I'm grateful for the clients that continue to work with me. I'm grateful for the clients that have challenged me and pushed me to be better, that have demanded more of me, because it has pushed me to demand more of myself. And I'm grateful for every lesson that has made me a better human as a result of this. I treat myself with so much compassion, with so much grace, with so much love, with so much kindness, because I do what I do. I've learned through this business that it's okay to fall down. It is okay to feel my feelings. It is okay to bring Nori, all 100% of her, to what I do. It is okay to be powerful. It is okay to embody that power. In your business, your career, your dream life has the capacity to show you the same. And I cannot wait to hear what that looks like for you. Thank you for joining me today. Have an amazing rest of your day. And I truly hope that you walked away from this video with at least one nugget to support you and a reminder that it is okay to be the most authentic version of yourself. feel your feelings. Be uncomfortably honest with yourself about yourself. Call yourself out. And then create routines and follow them that are rooted in supporting your intuition, and let go what you cannot control. That's the key. Because you can't control everything. You can only control yourself. I love you dearly. I'm so grateful for you in your journey. And I'm grateful that you're a part of my journey. Because together we are igniting a chain of reaction of the possibilities of the universe and embodying those possibilities one day at a time. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Hasta luego.